We're the lucky ones.
All right, good evening, everyone. All good, Mr. Clerk? All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, June 15th, 2023 Boone County Board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting. I'd like for everyone to rise, please. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Patient.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we appreciate you keeping watch over us tonight as we do the business of the county. Let us all come together with calm minds, calm attitudes, and hopefully solutions for all the residents of Boone County to the best of our abilities. We pray for our military, police officers, and first responders that take care of us each and every day. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Tony Riley,
Here.
Ryan Curry,
Here.
Ray Larson,
Here.
Brett Mueller, Ryan Schneider,
Here.
Dave Wiltsey,
Here.
Carl Johnson,
Here.
Lisa Patterson,
Here.
Tom Walberg,
Here.
Sherry Branson,
Here.
Dana Logston,
Here.
Marion Thornton.
Here.
We have a quorum. Very good. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Curry, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Agenda's approved. 4.1. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2023 County Board meeting minutes. Wow, I'm getting tongue-tied tonight. Motion by Mr. Thornberry, second. Second by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion's approved and the minutes are approved. All right, 5.1, or actually 5, appointments and recognition. At this time, I'd like to welcome Melissa Irwin to come to the podium, please. Introduce yourself. She is with the Boone County 4-H, and she's got a group here with us tonight that she would like to introduce. From what I understand, it's the Boone County 4-H boys and girls.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Kids from several of different 4-H clubs here tonight. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank you guys for the opportunity. I came to you several months ago with the idea of a hometown leaders program where it would give the kids an opportunity to learn a bit about the county board, about the county organizations, how the different departments work, how they can use the different departments, and also what careers are here in our hometown that might keep them here in this community. So on Wednesday, we will be having our event. We've got several members here that have served on the committee, and we appreciate that. And during the program on Wednesday, we are going on several different tours. We're going to be touring here at this campus. We'll also be touring out at the jail, as well as animal services, and trying to just get a feel for all of the different departments here within the county. In addition to that, at noontime, the county's providing lunch, and we will be having an opportunity for the kids to meet with several of the county board members to learn more about what they do as county board members, but also to talk about a topic. And the topic that we're going to talk about is renewable energy. And we're going to give the kids an opportunity to talk with the county board and give a little bit of their ideas on that particular topic. So we don't want to take too much of your time, but I did want to give the kids an opportunity to introduce themselves. So I asked them to just tell their name, what 4-H club they're in, and also maybe just a project or two that they take in 4-H so you can get to know them a little bit.
Hello, my name is Addison Solom. I'm in the Boondocks 4-H club, and I mainly go interior design.
Hello, my name is Paul Stark. I'm in the Boondocks 4-H Club, and I show beef cattle.
I'm Justin Irwin from the Northern Heritage 4-H Club, and I show dairy.
Hello, I'm Willard Rosanis. I'm from the Wranglers 4-H Club, and I enjoy doing public speaking.
Hi, I'm Blake Stark, and I'm from the Boondocks 4-H Club, and I show beef. Hello, I'm Alan Ryan. I'm from the Flora Producers 4-H Club, and I show 4-H market lambs.
Hello, I'm Evan Wick. I'm in the Flora Producers 4-H Club, and I show dairy cattle.
It's a pretty good, great group of kids, and we're excited about the program next week. And we just appreciate everybody who's helped us along the way to get it going. And we look forward to reporting to you and letting you know how the program goes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alyssa. It was, thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it. The public speaker, I didn't catch your first name, but be ready to come up, take my spot. All right. You're great. I'm kind of tongue tied here tonight, but you're right on it. I'm impressed. All right. And I'd like to have the record reflected at 6:32. County Board Member Brett Mueller joining the meeting. All right. Moving along, appointments. 5.1, there's a list of appointments on board docs. If anybody has any questions about those, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the appointments as listed. Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Wahlberg. Any discussion on the appointments? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment, 6.1 public comment. I have 2 sheets here for public comment. Do me a favor, when you come up to the podium, please state your full name and your address, please, for the record. And I'll start the timer when you're finished doing that at 3 minutes. Mr. Steve Hindy.
Steve Hindy, 43W799 Oakleaf in Elburn. Culture should never be an excuse for cruelty. Last Saturday, shark investigators documented the rodeo in Capron. Throughout the event, Boone County's ordinance was regularly violated, just like last year. Animals were overworked. Our drones documented 51 steers brought to the event, and they were filmed in 529 runs. A number of runs were missed as the drones picked up new batteries and recording cards. That means that on average, each animal was used 11 or 12 times. That is clearly overworking, which violates Illinois humane laws. Our drone documented 15 runs for one steer, so there's no orderly process to spread out the abuse. Some animals endured more than others. Some steers were lamed. The tails of 2 steers were degloved, meaning that the outer sheath of the tail was ripped off the muscle. There was no veterinary care observed at any time. Horses continue to be beaten and otherwise abused, even though the rodeo people know we are recording. Rodeo workers pretended to use paddles to move the steers through the chutes. They figured we wouldn't notice the electric prods they were hiding under the paddles. We noticed and recorded. Rodeo people called the sheriff claiming that we were flying over them. That would be a violation of FAA regulations if it were true, but it wasn't true. Fortunately, the deputy who responded was smart enough to observe our drones from afar before approaching us. He saw that we never flew over those people, and they do not have any pictures or video to support their claim because they are lying. Rodeo supporters on this board have attacked Boone County citizens who stand against this cruelty. They claim that there are rodeos that are doing it right, but Shark's cameras have proven otherwise at every single event, bar none. And why is the state's attorney ignoring the hundreds and hundreds of violations of state law and Boone County's own ordinance? I've tried to meet with someone in the state's attorney's office to discuss the rodeo issue, and my efforts have been rejected. In response to our desire to show video at this meeting, Boone County Administrator Becky Tobin responded in part with the following. Quote, "We have a large group of 4-H kids attending the meeting tonight, so we want to be very careful about any video content. We do not want the kids to see anything that is not appropriate." I genuinely appreciate Ms. Tobin's concern, but the solution to stopping inappropriate animal abuse is to stop the abuse. Then there's no need for a cover-up. Rodeo supporters say that steer tailing is so beloved in Mexico that it's a national sport. Bullfighting, cockfighting, and dogfighting are also beloved by some in Mexico, and they're properly banned here, as is whaling and lots of other kinds of animal abuse in other countries. Steer tailing has been banned in parts of California and Colorado, which are big rodeo states, by the way, and the entire state of Nebraska, another big rodeo state.
Andy, if you could wrap up, please.
Thank you. It's time for steer tailing to be banned in Boone County because culture should never be an excuse for cruelty. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have another public comment. Marion Thornberry, step up to the microphone, state your full name and address. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Marion Thornberry, 528 East 8th Street, Belvedere, Illinois. What else you need?
That's it.
All right, this board has been facing this rodeo situation quite a while. And ever since I've been on the board, every single meeting we've had rodeo discussion. We've heard the heritage card being played. Heritage doesn't have anything to do with animal cruelty. Matter of fact, I've watched rodeos on TV, on the internet, and I think they're great until you start hurting animals. That's when your heritage no longer applies. Because animal cruelty of any kind should not be allowed. I don't care where you're from. Also, we've had a chance to correct this situation on a number of occasions, and we have failed to do so. We are not doing our job as a county board. Matter of fact, if you go on Shark's website, we, Boone County, and this board is being criminalized for our lack of participation. And these videos are going nationwide. They're not just here in Boone County. Boone County is being identified. They even have ex-county board members talking on these videos saying we aren't doing our job. And if you want to go on and see some of these, go to sharkonline.org. You will see all kinds of videos from all across the states, all over the country. And what you see is what's happening right here in Boone County, just in California or wherever. And the reason nobody wants to put a veterinarian in out there is because veterinarians have a responsibility by law to report anything they think is animal cruelty. It's mandatory state law in the following states: California, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, Minnesota, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. All of these states have a mandatory law that says if a veterinarian suspects, not sees, suspects animal cruelty, he is a mandatory reporter to the local authorities. That means the state's attorney and the police, animal services. And all of them have authorities to shut this stuff down. And if they don't shut it down, they're also responsible for failing to report animal cruelty.
All right. Anyone else for public comment? That was the only 2 sheets that I had. All right, seeing that, move along to 7.1, consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Branson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Curry. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8.1, or 8, reports from community agencies. 8.1, Council on Aging. Ms. Patterson, do you have a report for us this month?
I do not. We have not had a meeting. Our next scheduled meeting is next week, so
Okay.
I'll have something next month.
Very good. All right. Growth Dimensions is, how are you? This way, come on up.
Good evening. You get 2 wicks in one night. Clear. He's embarrassed. I know that he is. So I put at everybody's place just our update So you should see that. First is that we have our dashboard. So everything on our dashboard is year to date, well, through May 31st. So just a couple of highlights is we do have 58 new business projects that we're working with. 13 of those are in construction or in the commitment phase. We are working with 31 existing businesses in Boone County. 17 of those are in a commitment or construction phase. So happy to see that. We continue to see a lot of progress in the enterprise zone. So far for last year and this year, we're working with 38 businesses. They've done 80 projects and happy to report that the capital for those projects is $286 million. So happy to see that investment coming here in Boone County. A couple of things that I wanted to point out, just some events that are coming up. We are sponsoring breakfast before business through the chamber. That's on June 21st. We'll have a gentleman from the Federal Reserve of Chicago coming to speak about the state of the economy. And then another event that we're partnering with the Illinois Manufacturers Association is happening on July 19th. And again, that's also in your packet. It's a creative workshop, or I'm sorry, creative workforce ideas. It's a lunch and learn. On the back page, you'll just see some of the highlights. So I'm not going to go over everything, but just wanted to let you know that we are still working with a solar manufacturing company that's interested in a 330 square foot building in Belvedere. They would assemble solar panels. Midwest Refrigeration Services are looking to expand their current location and then also looking to put a new build. We're competing with Wisconsin right now on that one, so hopefully we'll see them come to Belvedere in another capacity. And then just highlighting a few other things. As you can see, there's a lot of construction. So if you drive around Belvedere, Boone County, you see a lot of dirt moved, a lot of buildings going up. So some of those are just the General Mills Distribution Center, the Conserve FS. Nice to see stuff happening in the northern part of the county. RVC, their ATC, they're redoing some of the stuff there. They're doing some upgrades. And the other thing just too that I wanted to bring up was the enterprise zone. So as you know, a month ago, you passed the ordinance in the IGA. And so those are continuing to go through the other municipalities and also through some of the other taxing bodies. So we should be able to get our application to the state by June 30th and hopefully have an approval by September. So just wanted to update you on that. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Growth Dimensions?
Thank you.
Easy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. All right, 8.3, CASA. Mr. Curry, any report for CASA?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Cars for CASA is Sunday, August 20th from noon to 4 during the Buchanan Street Stroll. $15 to register until August 7th and raises to $20. And you can register at carsforcasa@gmail.com and get more information at boonecountycasa.org. We are currently serving 86 children, 10 new children in the past month, and always looking for advocates. And they are currently hiring for an educational coordinator. So if you know somebody interested in that, please reach out on the website as well.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Curry on CASA? All right, seeing none. 8.4, R1, just continuing meetings going on with different organizations, Stellantis, the Project Yukon, all those are still moving forward. There was a meeting, we helped participate with a meeting up in Loves Park. Justin went for me that week, that particular meeting on some IDOT issues going on up in Winnebago County, but they needed our say in that as well. So where the old speedway is being torn down, the IDOT had some ideas similar to the ones that they have between Rockford and Boone County. So I think Justin, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got that all taken care of so that we should be good there. Anyone have any questions for me on R1? All right, seeing none, we'll move to 9.1, new business. I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 23-13, sale of surplus property, 03-27-155-011.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Curry. Was that Mr. Curry? Oh, Mr. Mueller, sorry. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those we'll need a roll call vote on that, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider, David Wiltie,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry.
Motion carries. 9.2, I need a motion to approve the proposal from Larson and Darby to provide architectural services for window replacement in the jail with a cost not to exceed $18,800. And this does not include the cost of the windows. So I need a motion.
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Curry, seconded by Ms. Branson. Any discussion on that? Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Just a question for staff. I see that these three items, 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3, all are under new business on the board meeting. I guess I'm curious, how come they didn't go to a committee meeting prior to this board meeting?
Well, I think the way the board meetings fell this month are so early, we're already at the 15th, halfway through the month, and we're already at county board. So I think time-wise, and the sheriff could probably speak to the Larson and Darby. 9.1, the treasurer did bring it up at committee last week. He just got it the exact same day as committee, so he didn't have a chance to actually make it an item, but he did discuss it last week. And the third one, when we get to it, it has something to do with the solar fees, and it's something that can't wait till next month. And we didn't have that available last week either. So it's really just the timing of how our county board felt this month.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brent Mueller,
Aye.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
David Wiltie,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley.
Yes. All right, that motion carries. Moving on to 9.3, I'd entertain a motion to approve ordinance 23-17, amending the Boone County fee schedule. Motion by Mr. Larson, seconded by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion?
Who wants to take this one?
I think Jesse's.
Please.
Just the fee schedule that we have before you essentially is proposing four changes in the fee, significant changes having to do with the result from our wind and solar ordinance that we just adopted. We wanted to make sure to get the section 4.22.11 and 4.8 in prior to new applications being submitted, which we anticipate 2 applications coming up within the next week or so. So we wanted to make sure that we had this in our fee schedule as soon as possible. The other one that is semi-related to the solar and wind has to do with a special use permit application fee of 10 acres or more being changed to $1,500. So any application that would be 10 acres or more would then be the fee of $1,500 for their application fee. And it's the thought behind that is anything generally that's a special use and significantly amount of acreage tends to be more labor intensive and takes more time, and therefore the cost is associated with that. And then finally, the 2 other changes are proposing the zoning verification letters going from $25 per pin or lot to $50 per pin or lot, and then the lot of record letters from $25 to $75 per pin or lot. And those haven't been changed since probably 20 years or more, so that's why those are being proposed at the same time.
Yes, Madam State's Attorney.
I was just going to say in reference to the wind and solar, if you remember in our ordinance, we had various provisions that allowed the county to seek outside experts such as engineering, legal fees, that sort of thing. So the amount that you see there is money that they have to pay up front, and that it basically acts as an escrow, and we'll take the fees from that. So we have it up front, and we're not trying to chase the developer later to bill them with that. So that may not be the actual cost. Anything that's not used would be returned. And if it were to go over that, we can seek additional funds from the developer, just for your information.
Anyone have any questions for the planner or the state's attorney on this issue? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Motion carries. All right, item 10, administration, Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 1.1, I motion to approve renewal of Comcast franchise agreement as presented.
Motion by Mr. Larson, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Aye.
Ryan Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson. Yes. Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson. Yes. Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Larson.
Thank you. 10.3, I motion to approve resolution 23-14, proposal Poplar Grove 21-00114-00-FP improvements.
That was actually 10.2, Mr. Larson. But, motion by Mr. Larson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Branson. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brett Mueller,
Aye.
Ryan Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson. Yes. Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Larson.
Okay, that's 10.3. A motion to approve phase 1 planning, permitting, and phase 2 design bid of the Shattuck Road Bridge over Mosquito Creek in Spring Township at a cost not to exceed $64,230.
Motion by Mr. Larson. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ryan Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson. Yes. Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Larson.
10.4, I motion to approve ordinance 3-15, special use permit 08-2023, Illinois Solar 9000 LLC, care of Lightstar Renewables.
Motion by Mr. Larson.
Second.
Sorry. Motion by Mr. Larson, second by Mr. Wiltsey. Is that fine? All right, very good. Any discussion on this? Mr. Wahlberg.
So I have one question and then one comment. Is it, for Jessica, did we check into the map that we're on? On board docs, okay. So I just wanted to verify that we had the most up-to-date map. That was, you all saw visually.
Yes.
I guess as we look through this map and we look through a comprehensive plan, this would be the next property in line on Irene Road that would be in line to be industrial. Is that fair to say? Is that map visible so we can kind of revisit that again?
This one? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So this map was taken from our most recent comprehensive plan. So that was the clarification question I had. But just a few comments about this. I guess I think we've had a lot of discussions around renewable energies. This, like I was trying to state, that this area is kind of slated for industrial. We've talked a lot about industrial use, being kind of an opportunity for a lot of different, businesses and things. And, just thinking of the future, if we ever were to expand this industrial, this would be the next property that would probably be in line for that expansion of industrial property. Looks like the owner is preparing to maintain 2/3 of the property in tillable farming land, agricultural land. So I just wanted to comment and make those comments out there. I know at the last board meeting, committee meeting, I referenced the LISA score because we had added that to our wind and solar energy ordinance. But with that said, it's one of those that it's kind of a suggestion, and it's very close to that line that we created. So I just wanted to point out those comments. And I think as we think about the future and Stellantis, we've talked a lot about, there's probably some positive things that could come from adding renewable energy to our county. So
Yes, Madam State's Attorney.
I just want to remind everybody that the new ordinance does not apply to this application. It was submitted prior to us adopting the ordinance, so it would be considered prior to that. We didn't have an ordinance in place. It's the typical factors for any special use project.
Mr. Curry.
Just kind of comment in regards to what Tom said is it's always going to be next to industrial until it stops. That line stops there. If we were to eat up every bordering property and then eat up more bordering property, we'd have no farmland or tillable land at all. We're destroying a resource to put a renewable energy that's not needed. There's no reason for solar. There's no reason for this energy source to come in here. There's no reason to eat up tillable crops or tillable land for crops to put this resource on there. I'm never going to understand why we're using this resource for this, no matter who comes up here and explains it to me. It's ignorance at its finest.
Anyone else? Mr. Wiltsey.
Both in the, I listened to the ZBA hearing, both in the hearing and a speech I heard Senator Severson give just last week. Illinois has adopted legislatively a requirement that 25% of power, and I don't know which year it is, I think it's 2025, but it's in not this year or next year, but it's soon. 25% has to be from renewable energy. The cost of that is that the nuclear plants aren't going to get as much power purchased from them because we've got to go to this renewables. The renewables have to have a lot of infrastructure set up. That's what's going on. The General Assembly has passed it. The governor has signed it. And that's probably the problem here. I don't agree with this rush to electric, but right now that's what the law is going to require of us. And the more times that Boone and other counties approve some solar programs, the more energy is going to be generated. Now, with respect to and you have been provided with a copy of the notes, and you'll recall on that first page, it talks about and it gives them numbers 1 through 6, but they're actually section 2.73 of our county zoning ordinance, and they're alphabetical letters A through F, which are 6 letters. In that, the first finding by the ZBA was that it's permitted in the zoning district and is in line with the comp plan. The second one, and this is a really important one, it's a minimal effect on the property, leaving if you look at the staff report, the site of has 156.5 acres. 65% of that will still be left in agricultural production. The disturbed area, quote unquote, is 38.9 acres. And then there's an array area, which is like a border, 29.1 acres. But even within that area, the testimony was clear that the aisles will be 15 feet wide, and the crop planned to be planted in those aisles is hay. And they're also doing natural pollinators and other aspects. They talked about the 5 factors that they need to do and talked about how they met those factors. I'm talking about the applicant now. Going back to the 6 points, Number 3, it says in the notes, hard to hear. I listened to it very closely and put on my hearing aids, and I had to put it up to 100%. It wasn't great audibility, that's for sure. But the finding was there was no adverse impact. The 4th one is compliance with all regulations and meeting the standards of the zoning district as ins and setbacks and conditions of approval. The 5th one is the special use can be subject to review and conditions with appropriate departments. And the 6th one, and by the way, you'll note in the notes, it says number 3, hard to hear. I'm telling you, it says no adverse impact. On number 6, the last word is project outweighs potential adverse impact effects. It's actually outweighs potential adverse impacts, which is the language of sub F under 2.73. If you look at some of the other points of this, they're talking about, again, I said proposing to do hay. They're working on the interconnection of the project. That's the next step of that. Steve Schrobacher said it's a good location. The chairman said, when you get to the end of the approval, this is one of the better plans we have seen. Joan Brown said, nice job, nicest project we've seen. And I listened closely to the roll call. I had 5 ayes. I don't know if it's different in the staff memo. I'm having trouble with my electronics today, but I did listen to that. It was unanimous. There were no findings or testimony that was adverse to the project. No public comment adverse to the project. There were questions. Brent Mueller had a question, and there were 2 other people that had questions. And, you know, that could be considered adverse for certain. But I mean, there was no agency or any other person put in for public comment, but they did allow questions from the audience, and Brent had 2 or 3 of them. Look this over. I think this is one of those things. Even with the question about grounding to the solar system, which was one of Brent's comments, the engineer said that they're following all national electrical code and safety codes. And you know, the interesting thing about this is they have tracker panels that move so that the light gets in, but also this power is kept local with special provisions to go to low-income people and provisions for nonprofits. That's very unusual. And that it's staying local and not going out on the national grid is very interesting too. With there being all of these positives, I will be voting for it. And I think that we all, I really think it's a good project, and it doesn't even take up more than 35% of the property, of which, like I said, there are 15-foot aisles that hay will be planted in. Thank you.
Mr. Wilbur?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wiltsey. I appreciate you pointing out. I forgot to mention that it is one of the first, I believe they call it agrivoltaics projects that we'd be approving in our county, I believe. So that has some nice benefits to it as well.
Yeah. Mr. Curry?
You said the ZBA said that it found a fact that it was part of, it was zoned for that, you said?
No, that zoning, that use, solar, is allowed in A1.
Okay, in agriculture. Okay, so you're touting this idea that it's only using a percentage of this farmland. So if I had 500,000 acres and it was only using 100,000 acres,
that would be 20%.
We would
that would
sing
be
its
even less,
praise
yeah.
while we're eating up 1,000 acres of tillable land. Okay,
right.
So that's my argument. Is we're still removing crops. I can plant hay anywhere. That doesn't require a high LISA score. So when you have a plot of land that has a favorable LISA score and we're ruining it to put this on there, then I say go to the conservation districts and see if we can't plant solar all over their prairie grass or build over Walmart parking lot and put them all there. If we're required for 25% by the quote unquote politicians in Illinois, then we should find a solution that doesn't tear up farmland, because these people live out here for a reason. They farm out here, and 9 times out of 10, the people that own those fields don't live anywhere near here.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. I would like to concur with what Mr. Wiltsey laid out so eloquently. I think something that's lost here, and Mr. Curry touched on it, and I appreciate Mr. Curry's stance that we don't want to see farmland eaten up, things like that. But one of the things he touched on is that somebody owns this property whether that person who owns this property is a Boone County resident, was born and raised in Boone County, still lives in Boone County, or lives in the state of Idaho, really is irrelevant where they live or where they reside. Somebody owns that property. They pay the taxes on that property. So one of the hardest things to do in any planning situation is determine whose rights are more important. In this instance, we don't have any neighbors complaining about the project. So there's no rights being violated by those for local neighbors. On top of that, it's an allowed use in the A1 district with a special use permit. And we have an individual who owns this property and would like to do something with his property that is allowed with a special use. They've applied for this special use through this company. I really struggle with telling somebody they can't do something on their own property when they bought it and they pay the taxes on it. That's a really tough sell for me to tell them they cannot do that. Now, if it was something that was going to adversely affect all the neighbors, then I think we have something we can hang our hats on, but there's no neighbors that complained, no neighbors came about it. There's nothing else out there. It's in a potentially a future industrial area as things expand. It just makes sense to me that if you're going to put one up, put it there.
Well, I have a lot of concerns about this project, and I agree what everybody has said so far. However, unfortunately, the evidence that I need to vote this down, which I would very much like to do, I just could not find in the ZBA records. And it's sad, but it just wasn't done. And for that reason, I have to approve it, but I don't want to.
Mr. Mueller.
So the questions that I did ask at the ZBA meeting, they really didn't get answered. They've been beat around by the grounding issues. And for that reason, and some of my constituents have voiced their opinion to me that I will be voting this down just based on the constituents of what they said and the grounding issue. It's just not, our community, our electrical grid system in this area is not ready for it. ComEd, the meetings that we had with it, didn't seem like they followed through with stuff. It's just not ready for it. So the reason I'll be voting it down.
Mr. Wiltie?
Just one comment I wanted to make, and I did notice that the one lady did not know, the applicant was not able to answer your question, but that's why I referenced that follow-up guy that talked about the National Electric Code, but had said that the land will be destroyed. It won't be destroyed. In fact, if you think about this, when we lock one of these things up for 20 or 30 years, it preserves that land. And when it's decommissioned, it's still A1 land. And who knows what the breadbasket of the world is going to be in 30 years. And that's very interesting. And also, I just think that as said earlier by Mr. Johnson, this is a property owner that wants to do something with his property. He's still keeping it 65% agriculture plus the hay. And whether hay can be grown anywhere or not, it's still agriculture. It's still producing a product. And I just think that the evidence before the ZBA was very clear in terms of being in favor and meeting the three elements of 2.73. I've got that 2.73. And there is no evidence in the record that would show that none of those conditions were met and that you should be a no vote.
Mr. Snyder?
Everybody's saying that everybody's happy with the whole thing. But I'm looking right here. It says Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District conducted a resource inventory and has provided an unfavorable opinion for the proposed project due to a Lisa score of 83.99 and permanent displacement of prime farmland that is necessary for implementation of this project. So that tells me it shouldn't be there. You're taking out good land to put this on. No, shouldn't.
Anyone else, Mr.
I want to know how many people here eat hay. Anybody here eat hay? I didn't think so. How many animals can you feed on hay? I mean, right, hay has a useful source, but if we put hay everywhere we build a solar farm, we're gonna have hay coming out of our ears and nowhere to put it. We'll be hiring trucks to haul it to California, Nebraska, and all them places that have a shortage. Solar doesn't belong in A1 agriculture, and anybody that says it does, doesn't know anything about farming. First off, you gotta mow and rake hay. How close can you get to these systems without endangering them or the equipment you're using to mow this hay down? I have seen systems that would work, but so far, none of these systems have been brought to us. When I was on the Ag Conservation Committee, we were presented with maps and diagrams of solar systems that were used in other counties and other states where you could actually farm the land. So far, I haven't seen any precedent presented here. You can say that you can go out there and put hay underneath these things, but hay doesn't do us any good. It only has a limited use. So I'm agreeing with Mr. Curry there. There's a lot of places in Boone County you can put wind turbines or solar farms. You don't have to put it in A1. Like I told one of the other presenters here, we have a dump site right over here by Farm and Fleet that nobody's even bothered to look at. You can put one there. We got one out here. Why not put one over there? Nobody wants to put one over there because it's too convenient. They want to go out here and take away farmland. Let's take away all the farmland we can get. Illinois' farmland has decreased by over 75% in the last 10 years. It's not coming back. Regardless, I mean, you guys have said that once A1 has been A1, it's still A1 even after you do all this. It may be A1, but you ain't gonna grow nothing there because you got them solar things out there. And the only thing you're gonna grow at this point is hay. I don't eat hay.
Ms. Mayville, did you have any input on this, please?
It's becoming apparent that this vote is going to be close. My advice for people who are planning to vote no on this project would be to use evidence that was presented at the ZBA and tie it to one of the findings of fact that Mr. Wiltsey referenced. I gave you a handout at our admin meeting. It's on page 4. And use that evidence to show, you can put up there, tie that evidence to one of the findings of fact. For instance, if you believe that the finding of fact that the proposed structure or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property is incorrect, I'd ask that you state why you believe that, and that reason needs to come from the evidence that was presented at ZBA. A belief that solar should not be an A1 is not going to be a defensible position for the county should there be litigation. The new statute is very clear. Counties cannot bar solar in A1. Our county code has never barred solar in A1. It's fine if that's your belief, but each project needs to be considered individually, and your reasons should pertain to this particular project. They should be based on evidence presented at ZBA, and they should relate to one of the findings of fact that staff presented and that are found in our county code.
Before you, just 1 minute, Mr. Curry. I'm just going to make a comment as well. while I struggle with this, our district was one of the only ones that had competition in the last election, and I know the four of us campaigned very hard on farmland preservation. And I still firmly believe in that, and I think that we're doing the best that we can do to try to preserve farmland at this point. But like Ms. Maybell just reminded us, and I already had this in my notes before, that, finding a fact has got to be what we make our decision on here. While I may not like it, I think it's kind of where we're at. I'm hoping that the whole county doesn't get swallowed up in solar panels. I'm with everybody on that. But I think based on I don't know, in the criminal case, it's totality of the circumstances, but in this particular case, it's kind of the same thing where I'm struggling with this. I'm going to most likely be approving this project at this point. If anyone has, as Ms. Maybell said, can dispute the findings of fact, by all means. All right. Anyone else? Mr. Curry, I know you had your hand up, sir.
So these, we have to, even though it doesn't fall under the new statute, we have to still provide the same provings under that? I mean,
Yeah,
the ZBA's opinions or findings of fact are just as easy as ours. I mean, right? I mean, when we combat them, even if they voted in favor of something, they get things wrong all the time.
yes, you can disagree with any of the findings of fact based on evidence presented at the ZBA. You don't have to agree with staff's findings of fact. You don't have to agree with ZBA's findings of fact. The findings of fact come from case law, so these standards have been around for a long time, and they have been in our county code pre-new statute. So they are relevant to this case. They'll be relevant to all cases going forward.
Anyone else, Mr. Thornberry?
I read somewhere that our farmland here in Boone County is supposed to be protected. Putting a solar farm on A1 agriculture is not what I call protected. Also, the report that Mr. Schneider just read to you says they don't recommend it. The fact that some of the questions that the solar people couldn't answer at ZBA, I think we got more than enough to turn this thing down. If you can't answer a question, that's something you're trying to sell me, I'm not buying it.
Mr. Curry.
I guess my problem is they come at us with findings of fact. Why can't we come at them with findings of fact? So I should have to rebut every single thing that they say that's in favorable of their fact, which a lot are facts. That doesn't determine that it's a well-placed project.
You don't have to rebut every finding of fact. If you find that one of these findings of fact, you disagree with that and you have evidence for that, that is enough to justify your
My argument is if I pulled out a list on a piece of paper that they had to rebut even one of them, and I said, you know what, it's eating up prime farmland with an 83 LISA score. They can't rebut that, right? So if I had 7 of those and listed on the things of finding a fact that I have found and we have found, and their job was to find that, then you understand what the difficult issue is. They're going to find a fact of things that are true. It's hard to refute any of those because our issues with this project don't lie within these 6 guidelines, right?
Well, the applicant doesn't make these findings of fact.
Understood.
Right? It's the ZBA / staff. But I guess, and the findings of fact are, they're found in the code. I guess I'm not understanding your question. Is your question that it's harder to rebut?
Right. If I had a list that found in code with the same issues that we have for these and gave them a list, they would have to come through and find reasons of not, or refute, right? And that's what it makes, we're already behind when a project gets approved like this on these issues, and then so if I put a gun range here, because that's permittable, right? And that one of the
it's probably a special
permits.
It might be a special use.
Okay, so if I put that there, other than noise, does somebody want to see that on farmland? tillable farmland. I'm just saying but I could also come across with A through F with these 6 things and say, hey, and like Carl said, this is somebody's land. They can do whatever they want with it. But our job is to preserve, correct?
I'm not sure where your job is your job is to preserve farmland coming from
correct. I get it.
land but all you have to do is to find a fact to rebut one of these, and they are they're set by case law.
Mr. Johnson?
If I could maybe address Mr. Curry's question a little bit. And Mr. Curry, I don't know if this will help you or confuse it more. The findings of fact, first of all, you have the statement. So, that it will or it won't adversely affect the neighboring properties. That's a statement. That's a finding of fact that comes on every case. It doesn't matter if it's a solar case, if it's a event building, if it's a gun range, like you mentioned. So that blanket statement is there. And then it's up to staff and ZBA.
I understand.
To answer that question.
Yeah.
And then we take all the evidence presented for and against that statement. And we determine I either agree with it because this evidence provided for it supports my case, and that's I believe that statement, or I take evidence that was presented against that statement, and then I can say this is why I disagree with that findings of fact that was stated. That's how that whole process works.
I understand the process. Thank you.
And the ZBA is just advised.
Right.
You guys make the finding of fact.
Okay. I haven't.
Yes, Mr.
Okay, Alpha, okay. The proposed structure or use at that particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility which is in interest of the public and will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. There is zero proof that it will provide us or is in the interest of the public, correct? Because we're removing a crop, right? We're removing one resource for another resource. So in my opinion, it's not providing a desirable service, it's removing one. So who measures what is more desirable? Is that enough?
It is a reason you've balanced the 2 uses, and you're stating that you believe it's in the interest of the public that the use stay agricultural as opposed to solar.
Correct.
Okay.
I can just hang on a minute, Brian, if you have more questions. Mr. Wiltsey, you have your hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thanks. Just very briefly, at 158 in the record, Ellen notes in her notes too, that this is the first community solar block. And it is in smaller in size and creative incentives. There's local construction and community solar for low-income communities. And it says and such, but it talks about for nonprofits. So there's a public benefit right there. It may not be contrary to your statement of what you think the public benefit is, but there is a showing of a public benefit.
Mr. Curry.
Charlie, C, the proposed structure or use will be designed, arranged, and operated to permit the development and use of neighboring property in accordance. They found that the proposed use is not anticipated to have any effects or impede the surrounding development nor produce traffic. The effects of this effects do impede on the surrounding development. There are farms there, and there is no proof that grounded energy is, Brenton has pointed out, doesn't affect farm animals. Too. And I'd like to see the layout of the grid on how it's going to, I love that they point out that it's going to give energy to low-income families as a tie-in to how they regulate how the low-income families only receive this energy, because that's pretty amazing, right?
I didn't say only receive, and I'm only repeating what the testimony was.
Mr. Mr. Thornberry.
Did I hear someone say a while ago that they're telling us that this stuff that's gonna stay, the electric that they generate is gonna stay within the county? Is that what I heard?
Local, I think is what they said. I don't know if that's just common about Edison. I'm sorry.
They can't guarantee you that.
Hold it. Let's have an answer to that question, Mr. Thornberry. Go ahead.
If I may, I think the intent of that statement is generally that the energy remains within the community and that is offered to the community. I don't think the actual, and I think she did state this in her testimony, the applicant, that the energy itself doesn't stick within the community, right? It's a little over my head, but it's the benefits to the availability of the energy within the local community. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Which means that when they tell you that it's gonna stay here, they're lying to you because it's not. It's like anything else. Any business out here is in business to make money. And they're gonna sell that electricity to the highest bidder. When they tell you it's gonna stay here in the county, if any of it stays here, it's gonna be a minimum amount. The majority of the electricity that these things generate are gonna be sold to the highest bidder somewhere down the line. And the last time I was on the county board, UCCI had a meeting in Springfield. And one of the speakers there was an individual who was promoting solar. And what he was proposing was getting as many solar farms in Illinois as he could get, so that he could sell that electricity to the East Coast. He didn't care about Illinois. He wanted to sell it to the East Coast.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, talking about, God, he can't see you.
Branson.
Hey, Carla, at the risk of putting you on the spot, and I apologize for that, but I really struggle with doing this or approving this because I know that this board wants to preserve our prime farmland. I know that food is a limited supply. If you eat up all your farmland, eventually you're going to run out. And I'm struggling. I've been staring at this thing all afternoon. How can I tie that to the finding of facts? Can you suggest any verbiage?
I think Mr. Curry probably did the best he could with that the interest of the public in preserving prime farmland outweighs the interest of the public in this solar project.
Is that going to be enough to keep us from getting in trouble with the courts?
I have no idea.
Won't know that till you go to court.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
A lot of unknowns here, folks. That's why I said what I said, and I'm struggling with this. But anybody else have a comment?
Mr. Curry.
I had one
Sorry,
more
Mr.
question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So when we say that solar, and this is just a general question. I forget who we were talking, it might have been you, Elisa, about the tax that it creates in comparison to farmland. How it generates a high tax at first, and then the longevity of the program, that tax depletes because the value of the property depreciates, correct? So where it looks like it's a great thing for tax at year one, at year 30, it looks like trash. Is that a fair statement as the taxing as it?
That's outside the scope of my knowledge, how the value of the,
Well, it's set by statute, whatever.
Okay.
And I don't know what that is. The assessor would be able to answer what that is, but if it's my understanding that if it's a solar or wind project, it's assessed at a certain, whatever the statute says. And I don't know if that depreciates over time or not, so I can't say that, but whatever the assessment is, I believe it's set by statute. It'd be a great question for you to ask Ms. Mueller.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Wahlberg?
Yeah, just to add to Mr. Cruz's question. So yes, it is set by the state of Illinois, the percentage, and every year that percentage has increased. So the question would be, is the value decreasing at a greater rate than the increase of the assessed rate? I don't think we know the answer to that question, but so far it's that taxes continue to increase annually. So for whatever that's worth, that's my knowledge.
Anyone else?
Just ending.
Yes.
I want to reiterate how sad I think it is that we live in a great agriculturally built community that has been preserved for all these years. And we have all these people on here that talk so proudly of it. These people who have been elected to these seats because you told on how much you love farmland and preserving all that. Some of you even work for it. And you're up here, sitting here saying, well, it's just a small slice of the pie. It's always just a small slice of the pie until that pie is completely eaten. And then what do you have? A bunch of solar fields and no crops. So I hope you remember that during election time, because I'm a noisy guy and I will call every one of you out on it.
And I'd just like to piggyback off of that as well. Ryan, I understand where you're coming from. And
we heard.
And I understand. No, I get it. But we're not the ones that made the laws that we have to, laws that the state has now that we have to try and follow. And I understand.
I pointed out 3.
I know, I understand. I'm just saying. We're not the ones that passed those laws in the state of Illinois. We've got politicians down in Springfield that a majority that felt that this was important enough to move along. So that it's again, I struggle with it as you do as well, I'm sure. Yes.
They pass policy all the time that we disagree and we fight.
I know.
So where is anybody fighting for this?
Yeah, I agree.
We have a no bail policy that you guys all fought very hard against. So what is this difference? So what, because Springfield passed something, we're supposed to lay down and take it?
Of course not.
Ridiculous.
Mr. Larson, you haven't had any input yet. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I was reading through some of the stuff. If the staff could let me know, they need a Illinois EPA NPDES permit. What does that stand for? NPDES.
Justin's here.
National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Service. It's required for any time you disturb more than 10 acres. It's a common, it applies to all non-agricultural activity.
Those here, it's more than anything, it's gotta be just an acre disturbed, they have to do it.
Yeah, sorry, acre, sure. Yep. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2 of the MPDS, yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Loxton?
You can go ahead.
Okay, trying to formulate this in my head. So it was just brought up about the depreciation and the benefit to the county financially. Has anybody done this study, like what the 30-year, what the difference would be in like what kind of economic benefit it would be to the county to keep it as farmland as opposed to throwing these solar panels on there? Because would that be kind of like disagreeing with the statements of the findings of fact if it's not economically sound for the county? Maybe.
I can say that no study was presented at CBA with that information.
No?
If there's not evidence, you can't consider that as a fact when you're making your decision.
Well, you could forecast it. Like, that's just raw numbers, right?
Well,
There would be a lot of assumptions there, right? Tax rates.
Sure.
To my knowledge, that study does not exist, and for sure, there was no evidence presented at CBA what that comparison would be. So my recommendation would be that you not consider that information for anyone's doing a calculation.
Mr. Thornberry.
If there was no evidence presented at ZBA, how can they say that this is going to benefit the community? They haven't proven it's going to benefit the community.
No, that evidence was not presented at ZBA.
Oh.
There was an hour's worth of testimony, I believe, approximately at ZBA, but it was positive testimony.
was factors other than financial as to why it was beneficial to the county.
Correct. Benefit to the county doesn't necessarily mean financial benefit, which actually is in support probably of Mr. Curry's position.
All right, anyone else? Mr. Larson?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look at the findings of fact B. The proposed special use is expected to have minimal effects on the property or adjacent property owners. And later in that same statement, the impacts are minimal to the land. Mentions in the, what's listed as the Renewable Irene Road ZBA memo, that the ground is moderately sloping and susceptible to erosion. If there isn't, especially under the panels, something there to hold this ground together, it will be susceptible to erosion, which is not only going to affect its property, but potentially neighboring properties. So I don't agree with B that it's going to have minimal impact. It's can very well have a substantial impact if it's especially when you're going to keep farming in between it. I'm not underneath, directly under the panels is very hard to grow stuff. So I don't agree with that B is accurate there. And I was just wondering, is the maybe the staff, I don't know if somebody's here from the Light Star, are they using the Illinois lottery system to fund this? How are they actually have the money to pay for this, or are they funding it with the, it's not listed in this thing.
I don't know if there was testimony on that at the ZBA, but
I was just wondering if there.
yeah, the ZBA is the forum where questions are asked to the applicants. So even if they answered that tonight, it wouldn't be something to consider because testimony is given under oath at the ZBA and subject to cross-examination.
All right, anyone else? Mr. Wiltsey?
Just briefly, the notes indicate, and if you listen to the testimony, the reason it's believed that it's a minimal impact on the property is because it leaves 65% of the total parcel in agricultural production.
What was that statement one more time, Dave? I'm sorry.
65% of the total parcel is left in agricultural production, and that's why it's considered a minimal impact in part.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
David Wiltie,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Lisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Leah Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
No.
Rodney Riley,
No.
Ryan Curry,
No.
Ray Larson,
No.
Brent Mueller,
No.
Brian Schneider.
No.
It's a tie vote.
Yep. Motion fails.
Tie vote, motion
Motion
fails. Tie vote, then motion fails. Moving along to 10.5, motion, oh, I'm sorry. We're still in your meeting, Mr. Larson, go ahead.
10.5, a motion to approve purchasing card approval, Jessica Roberts, land use planner.
So moved. Or second.
Motion by Mr. Larson, seconded by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That's it, Mr. Larson?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. 11, Committee of the Whole Finance. Mr. Mueller, would you take the meeting, please?
Moving on to 11.1, motion to approve the claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, Northern Illinois Service, Corps, Maine, all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department, and all claims submitted by any county department regarding sewer, stormwater, construction, and excavation.
Motion by Mr. Mueller, second. Second by Mr. Snyder. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Mueller?
Moving on to 11.2, motion to approve the proposal for DuraClean for courthouse cleanup. Basement, transport to the Boone County Historical Museum and transport back to the county facility once items have been cleaned and organized. Cost to not exceed $30,000 and to be paid using ARPA funds.
Motion by Mr. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Logston. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Aye.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to 11.3, motion to approve the dental insurance renewal with Northern Illinois Health Plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
David Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to 11.4, motion to approve the IGA with the Boone County Council on Aging for state fiscal year 2023.
Motion by Mr. Mueller, second. Second by Mr. Thornberry. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Mueller?
That's it.
All right, very good. We'll move on to 12.1, special committee reports, community building, Mr. Loxton.
Fun day at the community building today. Told right up front that they got a $65,000 tax check. That's good. There are elections for the board executives. And we'll find out who's going to be running for those. And some of the things that they're concerned about, the far hallway floor is spotting in the terrazzo. It's been kind of a mess down there with the lower level bathroom renovation. As far as the cracking that's happening there that I told you about a few weeks ago, they're trying to get structural engineer inspector in there next week so that 2 to 3 weeks from now, they can figure out how to fix the cracking. I told you about the Main Street storage area for the play people, the Main Street players. They asked them to clean it out and they banged it out and then they moved a lot of their stuff out. Let's see, they had a Heritage Days walkthrough. Everybody knows that. It's coming up pretty soon. There's some issues with the parking lot where the carnival's going to be. They want to make sure that everybody's safe and that they're going to try to fill in some potholes. There's going to be some talk about the EMS plan, and if anybody has been following that, the idea is to have a place to go, especially for the people that live in manufactured homes. Are they manufactured homes? Is that what you call them? Okay, yes, in case there's tornadoes or inclement weather or whatever, they want to use the community building, makes sense, community. And as a place that they could go for refuge but there's a lot of things that need to be hammered out there. And that's almost all I can say on that. The insurance policy, they're going to have to renew the insurance policy. Here's a little fun fact. So the building has been assessed at $7 million, right? That's pretty good. In order to build the building like it was built 85 years ago would cost roughly $45 million to rebuild it. If they kind of cut a few corners, you're looking at maybe like 35 million, but that would be an undertaking. So they're having some issues with that, and they're going to have to come. They're going to have to come to the table with some negotiations on that. August 22nd, there's a back to school food truck event. November 4th is the new date for fall crafts. There's kind of like we had in the springtime. There's a fall one, and that is November 4th. So set your calendar for that. That might. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to remind everybody that the Heritage Days today. They used to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this year it's only Saturday and Sunday. Or I'm sorry, Friday and Saturday. Okay, and I think the fireworks are also on Saturday this year, is what I heard. Oh yeah, and the people that we need to reappoint, I think we did Ron today, but also Joy and Don and Chris also will probably be coming up for reappointment. That's it.
Any questions for Mr. Logston? Very good.
Oh, and still nothing on the ramp for Mr. Curry.
Thank you for checking.
All right, moving on, UCCI. Becky, do we have anything from other than the conference information coming in?
I put something under correspondence, actually. It's the Leadership Academy that takes place there in early August or late August. It's limited to 30 people per session. So if anybody's interested, you want to get your application in soon, because I think they only choose 30 people. So if anybody's interested, let us know.
Okay. Ms. Branson, do you have something?
When I was on the board previously, I attended the Leadership Academy, and I strongly recommend you guys think about doing it. It was a well-done program.
Yeah, there was 4 of us that went down there in 2012.
Okay.
It's a great experience. You learn a lot. A lot of people don't go to these UCI things. That's why they don't know half of what they need to know. I suggest you go to some of these UCIs. You got lawyers talking to you. You got legislators talking to you. You learn a lot from going to these things.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Let me see. What do we got next? Community action. Anything on that? I don't think so. Moving on then to 12.4 911. Ms. Branson, do you have a report for us tonight?
Yeah, they're still working on the console that's being installed on 6th Street Station. That's the radio system that replaces the ancient one that has a lot of transferring of calls. So it would eliminate a lot of those transferring. And so that is a work in progress that has just been delayed, and it's an ongoing issue. We're also going to have a booth at the fair this year, every year, and there's no big new issues with the Ninja system, which is a huge improvement considering, a few months ago we were withholding payment because they were not taking care of issues. So a lot of the issues have been resolved with new management down there.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Branson? All right, seeing none. Northern Illinois Land Bank? Nope, Sherry, nobody's on the phone for that, are they? Okay. I know we're going to be bringing it up this next D-level, the land bank trustee that we discussed way back in February. We had a presentation on that snowy night from Region 1, so we're going to be revisiting that. Any other committees have anything? All right, scheduled committee meetings. The next
Mr. Chairman,
meeting?
next Boone County Administrative and Legislative Committee meeting will be July 6th, 6 p.m. in this room.
6, okay. Brett?
And the next Finance Committee will be July 13th.
July 13th, 6 o'clock in this room, and the next county board meeting will be July 20th, 2023 at 6:30 PM in this room. Any other unfinished business? Correspondence, Becky, 14-1, or do we already discuss everything?
We already got that.
We got it, okay. I believe we do have a need for executive session under 15.3 collective bargaining. Any other issues?
And pending litigation.
And pending litigation. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for those two. Motion by Mr. Thornberry, seconded by Ms. Branson. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dana Loxton,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Brett Mueller,
Aye.
Ryan Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Lisa Patterson, Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Right, very good.
Thank you.
Be an executive